Well, it is Pride Month, and we are continuing to celebrate the voices who are shaking it up. Queen Jean, girl, thank you so much for joining me now.
Thank you for having me. You are so
Absolutely.
beautiful.
Oh.
Absolutely stunning.
Thank you. You are stunning. I know you're one of my fashion girls.
That's right.
Yeah, I met you when you were in a fashion program. Ain't that right?
That's right. At Guilford College.
At Guilford College, I was speaking down there. This was pre-transition.
Very, very much pre.
Yeah, very much pre.
But still on the T.
But still on the T. Absolutely. But you know, I saw you.
Yeah.
I feel like I saw my sister.
Yeah.
No matter what was going on, I did see you. And you were just talk to me about, I remember at that time you were telling me just how I inspired you and how for just not just my, creativity, but how I use my voice.
Absolutely.
And I hear that, a girl hears that a lot, but
she is that girl.
But very few times do I see that manifest in ways like it is manifested with you.
Yeah.
I feel like you don't even need a bullhorn, but I know that helps you with your voice because you really have made your voice heard. Your voice has been a leading voice at the intersection of art and activism, and I think that a lot of times people feel like we're being radical.
Okay.
And I like the title radical, but sometimes I feel like I'm not being radical enough.
Yeah.
What do you think about where we are right now and being radical and being seen as too radical?
Thank you so much, Angelica, for this question. It deeply resonates with me. I also just really want to say thank you for this conversation. I feel oftentimes we do not get moments for reflection, for pause, for deepening our education, for really actually putting this language and the time to ensure that things are not being missed. You are truly a overall icon.
Thank you.
And a phenomenal actor.
Thank you.
Actress, honey.
Yes.
But most importantly, you are such a Renaissance woman. I've known you, literally, I met you, you were a rock star. And I was like, okay, she's a rock star. She be playing her music. But then also to see your own evolution, behind the scenes, on camera, and even really starting trans tech and ensuring that our community knew what coding was, knew how to code, and knew how to actually set up so you could have your own entrepreneurial skills, your own capital, and that way we are not always having to be subservient to these systems and to a lot of these institutions that just truly see us as wallpaper.
Yes.
And not as valuable, integral assets who are shifting the paradigm. And you have shifted it.
But what's radical about that?
It's so interesting.
It's not even radical.
It's not. Honestly, I think about it oftentimes. Yeah, I get called radical because I'm going to speak the truth. So ultimately, as artists, I think so much about Nina Simone, who instructs, right, that it is an artist's duty to reflect the times. And I think about I have to use my voice. I have to use my body. There are times where I feel like, to your point, we're not doing enough. Why are we not flipping tables over in Congress at this very moment?
But I want to ask you a question, though.
Yes.
Who do you think you are as a Black trans woman?
Yes.
Who has your own problems to worry about? Where do you get the audacity to care about other people?
Yeah. The audacity truly comes from my grandmother. Obviously raised in Haiti, Haitian proud woman. So the spirit of rebellion and revolution lives inside this body. Pre-tea, after tea, and everything they're trying to throw at me. But for me, it is it's not lost on me that we have stayed separate as a people because of the effects of colonialism, imperialism, that we have deemed transgender, queer people, other people, immigrants, asylum seekers, Palestinian people as evil because they are trying to fight to exist.
Mm.
They are trying to fight to carve a peace so that they can live and that they can exhale in the place where they call home.
Yes.
And there's no ownership, there's no deed, there's no lease to that.
Mm.
And so as humans, we have a responsibility and obligation to ensure that our people, myself, yourself, the people around us, have that freedom, and that they're not tied to this antiquated idea that no, I have to fight for my freedom independently, and maybe I'll come back and get you. And so we find ourselves in 2025 with the no LGBT without the T. And we have to remind people that it was the T. It was truly revolutionary, transgender, nonconforming people like Stormy, like Marsha P. Johnson, my spiritual mother, and so many countless people who we actually don't even know their names, but who have stood up and fought back. We think about Sylvia Rivera, and we literally think about how these individuals, Mother Griffin Gracie, who said, enough is enough. If we will allow this system, the NYPD, any fascist system to control and to dictate how we're moving, we might as well give it up.
Absolutely.
And those individuals were not ready to give up in 1969. They're not ready to give it up in the Compton cafeteria riots. Our ancestors were not willing to give up their civil human rights. So in 2025, I'm not giving up my trans rights, and I will not give up the humanity that what it costs us to exist.
Absolutely.
And that means in this moment, we do not comply with fascism. We do not burrow ourselves. We do not hide because, oh, I might not get a gig, right? Oh, I don't want to speak out at this event, or, I don't want to post something because people will say something. I'll say this, fuck your fear. Because fear kept me hidden for my entire life.
Yes.
And I think about people being afraid to exist.
Yes, yes, yes.
People being afraid to tell the world who they are because people will see them as evil, as a terror, as a problem. Queer people, we are not a nuisance. We are not we are divine.
Yes, we are.
And so for me, it is truly my fist in the fight, the song that I have, because I recognize that I have to fight in this very moment, because tomorrow they might come for me and in the morning they'll come for you. And so why not, as a collective, we empower each other to fight and to resist now. I don't know when this will be aired, but in this moment right now, a few hours ago, an entire community in Los Angeles, they have armored themselves with the freedom of humanity, with the love of their neighbors, to ensure no one else is abducted. And we have seen that spirit and that fire the past 2 years. We've actually seen it our entire lifetimes, but maybe you won't see it because you're not Black, queer, or trans, right? Or you do not occupy the other identities that somehow someone tells you that you need to control, that you need to have total dominion over other people, when other people have made your life so comfortable, so cozy.
Baby, well, let me tell you something, but I want to say thank you, though, for doing the work that you do, because I got to witness firsthand how you make life comfortable for community that people are not checking for. I was in New York. I don't know, this was a while back. I was in New York and I was just strolling through the park one day and, didn't think that anybody would really, clock me and notice me or whatever the case is. But, there was like a homeless trans woman, that was like, oh my God, and I was, I said hello and all these things or what have you and talk, and it was a moment, and just realizing as I'm walking around and seeing folks that are not taken care of. And that very night, I ended up in a hall with you.
Yes, a fellowship hall.
Can you, because I'm not as sure exactly what I walked in on, but what I walked in was you feeding the community.
Yes.
You giving them space. And then I think there was a show.
Yes.
And one of the girls had performed.
Yes, ma'am.
And the girl that performed, she didn't have the RuPaul Drag Race costumes and things, but her performance.
Epic.
It brought me to it moved me that I had but nothing, but I think I electronically sent her some money or did something, because I was like, I didn't have the cash at the time, but I was like, because to see someone have the space to emote, be creative and express. where they usually don't. That's like a luxury to have access to that, and you create space for that. What was that? What was that?
You happened and divinely stumbled upon our weekly Wednesday fellowship, which is Black Trans Liberation Kitchen, BTLK around the way.
Yes.
And it is our commitment to the people that we love and the people that we have yet to meet, that you have a place to call home, you have a place to fellowship, to literally be yourself, to exhale, uh, to be greeted with love, and to be fed with dignity.
Mm.
And that is our mission simply. We believe in liberation for all oppressed people. Um, I'm deeply grateful that um, I found community when I moved to New York City. A lot of people don't know this. I went to NYU. I was a grad student there trying to, carry out my dream to be a star, Broadway, whatever, all the things that, all your aspirations. But I found myself homeless, unhoused during grad school. And I literally could not, I was so filled with shame because I was like, I'm around all these like very well-appointed students, their families, and all these things. But I was trying to figure out, the shelters on 96th Street. I was going down to Chinatown, really. And while I was trying to navigate the situation, I didn't really have community. I mean, obviously, I saw queer people. I would go around HMI. There's that McDonald's on Broadway. And if you know, you know. And I would just always see people there, and I would hear them, overhear them talking about the balls, escolitos, going to, down to 42nd Street, and just all of these opportunities and places that I was like, oh, this is an opportunity to maybe like find myself, find my truth. And it honestly wasn't until I found sisterhood that I was able to shape my own journey. Um, and being able to, attend a lot of the balls, a lot of the Vogue nights on Thursday nights, and just seeing how people were so free. And I not only desired that freedom, but I was like, how do I create this space for other people to also experience? My beautiful sister, her name is Whitney White. She's an iconic director, mother. I mean, she is truly superwoman.
Speak her name,
and
yes.
a national treasure. And she called me and was like, hey, my roommate is about to leave. I don't even know what happened, but she was like, I have a space. If you need a place to stay. That changed my life. Changed my life. So I went from being
Wow.
housing insecure, unstable, to literally having a piece of stability. And from there, I said, I have to pay this forward. And so I've been really working towards that and each and every day since then. Obviously, we fast forward to summer of 2020. I felt like so many people enraged. The unaliving of George Floyd was deeply heartbreaking. That same day, I believe there was a beautiful young Black trans woman, also in Minnesota, I believe, who had also been harassed, beaten
Was that the
at
one
a gas
inside the
station.
kids' convenience store or
At
something
a
like that?
convenience, yeah, and literally fighting for her life. And I was like,
Against like a mob of people, right?
an entire neighborhood of folks.
Yes.
And so she ran into the deli, and I remember this conversation she had with Dee Dee Waters at the time. I still remember because it was on Facebook, and she had a conversation with Dee Dee Waters, and she was like, I was just trying to get anywhere where I knew that there were music cameras, and if they did get me, at least people would know what really happened to me. And I think as trans people, we are intimately laser focused on death because we are not able to live in peace and to thrive in that way. So we are often reminded about how close we are to violence. And so this young lady ran to the convenience store, and she was like, I need help. And they were pushing her out of that store back into the hands of the mob, and in the footage, you see her gripping
Like
into
an
the
ice
counter
cream machine and stuff like that to try to stay in the
to
store.
stay in the store. And so, in that same day, I mean, again, I'm giving y'all a little context, but that same day was the 25th, I believe. There was the a Birdwatch Central Park Karen, who
I remember
called the
that too.
police and put this insane, heinous and violent phone, 911 call to the dispatch saying that she was being attacked by this, big black guy. And literally in the video, and he was there accompanied with his sister. And so it was just that day was just like, okay, what is happening? Something is off. And then 2 days later, learned about the unfortunate murder of Tony McDade in Tallahassee, Florida. And
The
there was like
trans man,
the
right?
trans,
Yeah,
yeah,
black trans
beautiful
man.
black trans
Mhm.
brother who was unalived. And there was like literally, I'm going online trying to see what's going on. Is there a march? Is there something that's happening for him? There was nothing for him. So we ran out into the streets like everybody else. Um, and I found myself in space where they were only amplifying black,
Cis
cis,
man.
heteronormative individuals. And I saw my sister out there, um, uh, Tommy Playboy, who brought a shopping cart full of water, Gatorade snacks, and she was voguing down in the streets and literally making sure that everyone had supplies and water. Tommy's no
Wow.
longer with us,
Wow.
but she inspired me because I felt like I had to hide who I was to be able to tell the world that we're here, we're humans, we deserve to live. Stop killing us. And so I felt like, okay, this is time. This is time. Everything was just coming into focus. 2 weeks later, I attended the Brooklyn Liberation March.
Mm.
And I literally had not told anyone I was trans. We were in a pandemic, and I was just like, okay, what do you do? Of course, it wasn't going to give, no, call me Caitlin. But it was something that I was like, well, let me show up to this, right? At least if I could be present, I could start my journey. And I came to the Brooklyn Liberation March. I had no idea what to do. Didn't know anyone there. I literally was, I felt like an outsider somehow, like an interloper. Uh, and I stood in the front. And at that time, I had no idea that I was in the company of so many legends, standing next to Lady Deja, my beautiful beloved brother and sibling, Devin Narell, and it was truly incredible, honey, Miss sibling D Tranny Bear, and I felt like I was in church for the very first time.
Mm.
And it brought so many things of like aspiration, beauty to be affirmed. And then you looked around, and I turned around, and it was just like a sea of, I mean, I believe it was like over 14,000. I call them an army of lovers, all dressed in white and all screaming out that Black trans lives
Lives
matter.
matter. Yeah.
And there were incredible speakers. I mean, I met my mother, Kaya Dora show. She woke it up. She was like in the middle of the lineup, and I was just so affirming. She was saying, "No, we are giving back to our people. We are buying land. We are getting housing." And I was just like, "This is what we need." Inside, just truly spiritually feeling awakened by everything that was shared, all the testimonies, and then. I mean, I've shared this story a lot, but it just begs to be named that Raquel Willis came and mounted the pulpit and looked around, and she said, "I believe in my power. I believe in your power. I believe in our power. I believe in Black queer power. I believe in Black trans power." And that ignited me, that radicalized me
Yeah.
to know that my power is attainable. And I didn't have to go searching for it. It was here the whole time.
And it's undeniable.
Thank you.
Your power is absolutely undeniable. I have to say that sometimes, people forget, like when you are an artist and
Yeah.
things like that, sometimes people, forget some of the work, like for myself, I'll say,
Yeah.
you know, um, I have always been an artist from diapers.
Okay.
I was a ham in the first grade play all the way through school, community plays, all these different things. I learned to play piano by ear in the fourth grade. But once I realized that going into entertainment, and being who I actually was,
Yeah.
I was going to have to learn to advocate for myself just to use a bathroom.
Wow.
let alone to stand on a stage. And so I think a lot of times, because my stardom sort of shot up in these ways, but I started out
Yeah.
advocating for myself as well.
Yeah.
How do you, deal with that balance?
Yeah.
Because you are someone who really focuses on trans representation
Yeah.
in performance spaces
Yeah.
and in public spaces, but how do you see fashion,
Yeah.
theater, and protests coming together as like tools for liberation?
Yes. I jokingly say this, but I mean it with every part in my soul. I love clothes as much as I love my freedom.
Mm,
To me, clothes are serve as your armor. And being a trans person, openly, proudly, undeniably trans, you have to find your armor in order to literally step out into the world to face, society each and every day. And for some people, you don't even have the tools for your armor yet, or you're figuring out how do I keep shining it. And so, when people in the society, our own loved ones, lovers, partners, all these people constantly try to make dents into your armor, constantly try to chip away at the very thing that makes you so powerful and beautiful and unique. They try to literally put this beautiful voice that you have back into a cage. And so for me, it has been integral that there is not we're not dividing ourselves. Right. It's not about, King Solomon. I don't have to chop up this this my black arm, this my trans arm, this the queer nails. No, no, no. This is an entire human that's in front of you, and that demands for respect, that demands to be paid equally,
hmm
to be paid on time, to be paid in this industry that constantly wants you to work for free, but most importantly, to bring your full self to a set or to a production, right? Because I work in production,
Absolutely.
but you people bring you to a production, and yet the dressing rooms are just as they are. The
Mine was
restrooms
a
are at,
closet when I was working, doing drag. And I won't name the, but go.
okay, and so as the artist, as a queer person, but as a human, you have to navigate all these things in order to just get through the next day. And for me, it has been a guiding light that I know that this has to change.
Mm.
The industry will change. India Moore said this so powerfully a while back on a podcast. People will hire you and want you to play the revolutionary, but you cannot uphold the revolutionary's
You can't be
principles.
the revolutionary, right? You can only portray them.
You can't advocate for people on set to actually have equal meals, to actually have an equal per diem. You can't advocate for us to actually get the very things that the other artists, the number ones and twos on the call sheet, get.
hmm
Right? I can't ask for equitable production allowance when I'm doing the designs because somehow I have to still cut my teeth, so I have to prove myself and my intellect.
They think the opportunity is pay enough for you, but that does not pay the bills.
And there's a myth of meritocracy that is woven and embedded in the American system. Somehow they force you to pull up your own bootstraps. Dr. King spoke about this literally a year before he was taken, right? That you want a black man to pull up his boots, but where's his boots?
Where are they at?
And so understanding that literally to me, that means every human, right? A human is supposed to be able to live and to prosper. Yet we have people that are making $10,000 an hour. Politicians, lobby groups. You have the misleaders. I call them misleaders because they're not leading us nowhere good.
Baby, that's a word. Yes.
But we have these individuals that are making $10,000 an hour, yet they're telling us and the American people it's the person making $5 an hour, the undocumented person, the immigrant person, the trans person. They're the evil here. They're who you should be focused on. And all in still, we now see people being abducted, children ripped out of their mother's hands, trans people being told you can no longer fly, you can no longer have access to exist. You have young trans children being told that your medical care, right, was in jeopardy at the very beginning of this year. Shame on you, NYU.
And even
Let go.
trans adults are it's being criminalized to be trans in certain
Yes.
places and everywhere. So I want to ask you
Yes.
this Pride season, because you know I'll be honest, because I spoke up
Yeah.
on a lot of things,
Yeah.
I haven't been at corporate Pride
Mm.
in years because they don't want me there. They know that every time I hit a hot mic, I'm going to find a moment
Yes,
to amplify what needs to be amplified.
at all times.
So this Pride season, I decided to celebrate in my own way since I was not invited. I decided to invite the voices who inspire me, the people who I know actually in community with, and I want their voices uplifted. And I want you, because there's so much conversation around pride, and there's some sort of like sayings, catchphrases that people have. And folks, we have to make it this way so that it gets embedded in people's mind.
Yeah.
Either one, but for this Pride special, I want you to explain for folks what it means either to not want to have cops at Pride, or what do you mean what we mean when we say there's no pride in genocide?
Woo! Um, it is so abundantly crystal clear to me what is the truth. And that if we believe as a people that having institutional robots that were slave catchers to come and to police us for an event that we have once out of the year, it is not a parade for them. It is protest to remind the world that we are still fighting.
Still fighting.
Still fighting to this day. And yet that Heritage of Pride, all these individuals, these groups that will then force feed and try to placate and to weaponize safety. This is an all too common theme here, but they will weaponize safety to say, oh no, we have to have these people here, right? Or my favorite, well, there are trans cops too, there are gay cops too. But yes, when they put on that uniform, it is a symbol of oppression. And ultimately, I'm not demonizing the person.
No, I know
but
exactly.
I'm saying that this role that you're playing deeply, critically, and fundamentally is oppressing my existence. And to lie about that, to veer away from it, or to say, well, I know a couple good folks, but the reality is we have seen the police, how they have treated the people in New York City, how they treat queer people all the time, how they treat undocumented people all the time, unhoused people on the trains, how we see them treated 19-year-old college students on campuses all around our city. It is enough, and enough is enough. These are not public servants, they are public terrorists.
Ooh, absolutely.
Because what they are doing, they are terrorizing the very wellness that we have. And so the safe space, that person could literally feel like, you know what? I'm going to put on my rainbow sticker today. I was that individual. For the first time, I was like, I'm going to wear my rainbow. I spoke to my sister last night, we're saying, and she said to me, Queen, happy Pride.
Mm.
And it wasn't rooted in a sponsorship from Nike, from Google, from TD Bank. Because these individuals that will say Happy Pride, I can't go in there the next day and get a loan. I can't go in there and say, hey, I actually need support. I have a business that needs a brick and mortar. Can you help fund me? We cannot go to these places and extra scholarships. They will not support us outside of the performativity of a parade. So that is why we are dismantling every route that placates us, that pits us against each other, that tells us, no, you will be accepted when you perform, when you smile and tell us how happy you are. We are not happy.
How
We are
grateful you are
being
just to be
killed.
invited to this table. Yes.
Jesus died poor. The very people that are raising money, that are truly supporting and funding genocide, that's why there's no pride in genocide. Jesus died amongst lepers and said, I will be with my people. So I will fight with every soul in my body until there's Palestinian liberation, until there's Black trans liberation.
Absolutely.
Let's be very clear.
Absolutely.
Because there are people in our community who are doing just fine, but they have platform services. Again, they are afraid to say something because of what will happen to them. Darling, we're already in it.
Not only are we in it, but you won't have to be so afraid when you got community that you know is going through the same challenges. But white supremacy wants us to separate ourselves and
Yes.
wants us to attribute to this individualism over community,
Yes.
capitalism over community.
Yes.
That's why I love, please, please, never stop. And I know I'm saying this to you as I look into a mirror and tell myself the same thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I have moments where it gets heavy, it gets hard. Thank you for calling me the day you called me
Yes, ma'am.
and reminded me of who I was. And I'm
Queen.
hoping that I have the opportunity over and over again to remind you of who you are.